In this example, we are going to analyze this quadratic function that is written in standard form, and we are going to find a number of characteristics. We will find the vertex, the y-intercept. We will find the x-intercepts using a variety of different methods, if possible, and then we will use all this information to graph this quadratic function. So let's start with part A, where we will determine the vertex. So when a quadratic function is written in standard form, we have the vertex formula, which is the opposite of b over 2a, which will allow us to get the x value of the vertex. And remember, this is also going to be the axis of symmetry, that line that divides the parabola in half. So when we identify our a, b, and c values, remember a is the leading coefficient, the coefficient of the x squared, b is the coefficient of the x term, and c is our constant term. So in this case, we're going to do the opposite of b, or if you think of this as negative b, it's either thought of as negative b, which would be negative 4, which will turn into a positive 4, divided by 2 times a, and a is 4. So this gives us 4 divided by 8, which will be 1/2. So this is the x value of our vertex. And I encourage you to leave this in fraction form because it's actually going to be easier for us to do these computations with fractions if we're doing them by hand rather than converting to decimals. So now we need the y value of the vertex. So we need to substitute 1/2 into our function. This means we are finding f of 1/2, so I'll use function notation here to show that I'm going to substitute 1/2 back into my function. So 4 times 1/2, the quantity squared, minus 4 times 1/2, plus 5. Then this is just a good exercise in remembering how to work with fractions. When we have a fraction and we're squaring it, we need to square both the numerator and the denominator. Then remember, 4 times 1/2, this is really 4 over 1. 4 over 1 times 1 over 2. So this is 4 over 2, which would be 2. 4 times 1/2 is 2, plus 5. And then 4 times 1/4 is just 1. So we end up with 1 minus 2 plus 5, which will be -1 plus 5, which will give us 4. So this tells us that the vertex of our quadratic function, which is going to be a parabola shape, will be 1/2, 4. And then the x value of that vertex, remember, if we have a parabola, parabolas are symmetrical, and there's that imaginary line that divides them in half, and that's the axis of symmetry. It passes through the vertex. Therefore, the x value of the vertex will give us our axis of symmetry. So we know our axis of symmetry is x equals 1/2. Next, we'll move on to part B, which asks us to find the y-intercept. So remember, the y-intercept is the point where the function crosses the y-axis or intersects with the y-axis. So we are always going to find that y-intercept by letting x equal 0. So we're basically substituting 0 into our function. So we're finding f of 0. 4 times 0 squared minus 4 times 0 plus 5 gives us a y value of 5. So our y-intercept will be the coordinate when x is 0, y is 5, 0, 5. Now you'll notice, however, that when the function is written in standard form, such as this one, that the c value here is going to be our y-intercept. So once you recognize this form, it's really not necessary to show this substitution here where you're substituting in 0. If you can just recognize that the c value, if x was equal to 0, the output would give us 5. That's going to be our y-intercept. Next, moving on to part C, we are interested in locating the x-intercepts. Now again, remember, when we're looking at a function, in this case, a quadratic function, so a parabola, the x-intercepts are the points where the curve is going to intersect with the x-axis. And although the x value here is unknown, we know that the y value is 0. The y value is 0. So we always find the x-intercepts by letting y equal 0. Now I want to practice using a variety of different methods of finding the x-intercept here. So when we begin by substituting in 0 for y, remember f of x is the same thing as y, so that gives us the equation 0 is equal to 4x squared minus 4x plus 5. And there are a variety of different ways of solving this equation. There's not just one right way, there are several ways. And so I want you to be familiar with all the different methods so that you can make a decision regarding 1, which is your favorite, or perhaps 2, which is most efficient in this situation. So we will start with the first method, which is going to be trying to use factoring to solve this quadratic equation. So when we have a quadratic and we're trying to solve by factoring, remember the ultimate goal is to factor this trinomial into 2 binomials. 2 binomials that would multiply together to give us 4x squared minus 4x plus 5. And guessing and checking or using trial and error is certainly one way to try to factor this. Another way you might be familiar with is called the AC method, where you multiply the A times the C value. So in this case, A times C would be 4 times 5, which is 20. And we're looking for 2 values, 2 numbers that will multiply to give us 20. And those same 2 numbers will need to add to give us the B value. In this case, our B value is -4. So we're trying to think of values that multiply to 20 but add to -4. You might try a few options. Perhaps you would try 2 times 10. 2 times 10 is 20. However, you're going to notice that 2 plus 10 definitely does not equal -4. So that combination will not work. Maybe you would try 4 times 5. But again, 4 plus 5 does not equal -4. So that's not going to work either. So you would want to go ahead and run through all your different options of values that multiply to 20, but you would realize that none of them will add to -4. So what that tells us is that this particular quadratic is not factorable. So this is an example of a quadratic equation that we actually cannot solve by factoring. So while factoring is usually the most efficient method, it doesn't always work, which is why we need to move on to our second option, our second method. And the second method of solving a quadratic equation is going to be to use the quadratic formula. So our quadratic formula is going to be the opposite of b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all divided by 2a. And as we noted earlier, we have an a value of 4, a b value of -4, and a c value of +5. So let's go ahead and use our quadratic formula here to solve this quadratic equation. So x is equal to, the opposite of b, so that's -4, that's going to give us a +4, plus or minus the square root of our b value squared. Since our b value is negative, be sure that you have that in parentheses so we don't make a sign mistake. Minus 4 times a times c, all divided by 2 times our a value. And I know that you're very capable of putting this into your calculator, but I want to go ahead and work through the computation so that we don't make any silly computational errors. So -4, the quantity squared, will give us +16. And then I always just recommend that you keep track of your signs here. There's only one subtraction or one negative, so we're going to have minus. And then let's go ahead and just multiply 4 times 4, which would be 16, and 16 times 5, which will give us 80. So we end up with 16 minus 80 inside of the square root, all divided by 8, which is 4 plus or minus the square root of negative 64 divided by 8. So you'll notice we are left with a negative inside of a square root, which tells me that we're going to end up with non-real values here, non-real numbers. This means that we don't have any real x-intercepts. We aren't going to see any places on the graph where the parabola is going to actually cross the x-axis or intersect the x-axis. So we have non-real x-intercepts. So technically we can say there are no x-intercepts. We don't have any x-intercepts. However, I am going to go ahead and simplify this expression just for review purposes so that you remember how, because this is going to turn into an imaginary number, rather two imaginary numbers since we have a plus and a minus. So a quick review on how to deal with imaginary numbers. The square root of negative 64, I want you to think of that as the square root of negative 1 times 64, which is really the square root of negative 1 times the square root of 64. So the square root of negative 1 is where we get the imaginary unit I, and then the square root of 64 is 8. So this simplifies to 8I, all divided by 8. So we have 4 plus or minus 8I divided by 8, which is going to simplify even further. If we factor a 4 from the numerator, we'll have 4 times the quantity 1 plus or minus 2I, all divided by 8. And now that we have multiplication here in the numerator, that allows us to simplify. 4 divides into 4 once, 4 divides into 8 twice. So this is going to simplify to 1 plus or minus 2I, all divided by 2. That's perfectly acceptable form. If we were looking for the zeros of the function, the zeros are imaginary here. But I would also mention that this is going to be the same, just so that you realize this, if we were to take the denominator and actually do the term by term division into both two of the two terms in the numerator, it would give us 1 divided by 2 plus or minus 2I divided by 2, which is equivalent to 1/2 plus or minus I. So whether you leave that as 1 plus or minus 2I divided by 2 or 1/2 plus or minus I, those are equivalent. It wouldn't matter which way you left your answer if you were finding the zeros. However, for our purpose here, where we were just trying to find the x-intercepts and we are just looking for the real values, the ones that we'll see on a graph, we're going to have that there are no x-intercepts. Finally, our third method for now for finding the x-intercepts is to take the original function, 4x squared minus 4x plus 5, and rewriting that function in vertex form. Sometimes that's also called shifted form. So this requires that we go back to part A and make note of our vertex, which we found earlier was 1/2, 4. And then we are going to use the location of this vertex to rewrite our function in vertex form. So I'm not graphing this for real right now. I'm just kind of plotting it off to the side so you can visualize. If the vertex is at 1/2, 4, that puts my vertex here, then that really means that we have shifted the graph to the right 1/2, and up 4. So if you use your knowledge of transformations, which we've already studied, then we can take basically the parent function, which is y equals x squared, and move that right 1/2 and up 4. However, it's also important to remember that the a value, the leading coefficient, will be the same, whether the function's in standard form or whether it is in vertex form. So some people like to go ahead and write out the vertex form, which looks like this. F of x is equal to a, which is my leading coefficient, and then x minus h, the quantity squared, plus k, where h and k are the vertex values. So in this case, h would be 1/2 and k would be 4. However, I just prefer to think of it as a shift right 1/2 and a shift up 4. So my function in vertex form, my a value is 4, will be f of x equals 4 times the quantity x minus 1/2 That'll give me the shift to the right 1/2, and then plus 4 will give me the shift up 4. So this is my function written in vertex form. But since we're trying to find x-intercepts, then we're letting y equal 0. So that just means that f of x here, my y value, that's going to become 0. So we're solving the equation 0 is equal to 4 times x minus 1/2, the quantity squared, plus 4. So this is still a quadratic equation that we want to solve, but we're going to solve it using the square root method. So we need to start by isolating the quantity that is squared. So we will subtract 4 from both sides. Negative 4 equals 4 times the quantity x minus 1/2 squared. Then we'll divide by 4. Again, our goal right now is to isolate that quantity that's being squared. And I want to isolate that quantity squared because ultimately I want to use the square root method, which means I am going to square root both sides here in order to undo that quantity that's being squared. So when I'm square rooting both sides, this is going to give me plus or minus the square root of negative 1 is equal to x minus 1/2. Again, you'll see right here that we have those non-real answers because we're taking the square root of negative 1. So that will be plus or minus I is equal to x minus 1/2. And then if we add the 1/2, we'll end up with x is equal to 1/2 plus or minus I. So these are my non-real, my non-real zeros, which shows again that my x-intercepts are not going to be seen. We don't actually see the x-intercepts on the x-axis on our graph. We don't have any x-intercepts because we ended up with non-real zeros. And you'll also note if I scroll back up that the form that we have our answer in here, 1/2 plus or minus I, it matches back up here the form once we had simplified our quadratic formula answer. Our quadratic formula answer, 1 plus or minus 2i divided by 2, that simplifies to 1/2 plus or minus I. So those are equivalent. Now that we have found all of these characteristics, it's time to put it all together and graph our function. Our vertex was 1/2, 4. So I'll go ahead and put some tick marks on my coordinate plane since I don't have any. If you're on graph paper, that's great for accuracy. So we're going to just estimate 1/2, 4, and plot our vertex. And then remember, this also gives us that axis of symmetry, so that imaginary vertical line that's going to cut the parabola in half. So that vertical line, since it's a vertical line, will have the equation x equals the x value of that vertex, which is 1/2. So our axis of symmetry is x equals 1/2. Then we had a y-intercept of 0, 5. So let's go ahead and plot that coordinate. 0, 5 is right here. And then remember, anytime you have a value, or a coordinate, I should say, on the parabola, you have a mirror image on the other side. So if I were to go on the other side, a distance of 1/2 away from the axis of symmetry, then I would have another coordinate right here. So this coordinate should be 1, 5, where our y-intercept was the coordinate 0, 5. And then we knew that this parabola was going to open up because of our positive leading coefficient. So because of the location of the vertex, if it opens up, we expect graphically that there are not going to be any x-intercepts. And we found that algebraically when we found that we ended up with imaginary values when we tried to solve for the x-intercepts. So then we have a nice parabola that opens up. I'll go ahead and draw in kind of that U shape here. If we wanted to get some additional points, we could do that a variety of ways. Of course, we could make a table. We could go ahead and choose an x value. For example, maybe we would choose x equals 2, and we could substitute that value in and get the y value. But for right now, given all of the characteristics that we found, this is accurate, and we can move on.